بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. To proceed, first of all, I miss you all. I miss Minnesota and I miss the community here in Minnesota. This is not to slight New Jersey in any way, but I do still miss Minnesota very much. And the community here, you are all like a family to me. And I hope that you continue to have that spirit of being one family and providing that important social matrix for each other as a community, particularly a Muslim community that lives in a minority that really needs this social matrix, that really needs this sense of family belonging, allegiance, affection, between the members of the community, cooperation, and so on. The topic of the balance between the deen and the dunya. When we say the perfect balance between the deen and the dunya, between the dunya and the akhirah, that name in and of itself, someone can contest the very title of the lecture, right or wrong. And he would be right. But I usually don't like to contest titles or contest statements of that nature. The way our righteous predecessors used to do and our great imams used to do is to analyze them. If you mean this, then it is right. If you mean that, then it is wrong. If you mean that you really want to strike a balance between the dunya and akhirah, meaning that your attention, your pursuit is equally distributed, divided between the dunya and the akhirah. Your longing, your pursuit, your aspirations are equally divided between the dunya or akhirah, or divided in a balanced way between the dunya and akhirah, then that is completely wrong. That's a complete failure. That is complete destruction. You have to make up your mind and you have to choose, because sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could grant you both. At other times you will be tested by the choice, by choosing between the dunya and akhirah. Will you choose the dunya over the akhirah, or al-akhirah over the dunya? So if you have not made up your mind which one you actually want, which one truly matters to you, you will fail that test. You will fail that challenge miserably. So let's listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the people who divide their attention, their longing, pursuit, aspirations between the dunya and akhirah. Allah told us about those who wanted akhirah and those who wanted dunya in many, many verses of the Quran. من كان يريد العاجلة in Surah Al-Isra, من كان يريد العاجلة عجلنا له فيها ما نشاء لمن نريد ثم جعلنا له جهنم يصلاها مذموما مدحورا ومن أراد الآخرة وسعى لها سعيها وهو مؤمن فأولئك كان سعيهم مشكورا. من كان يريد العاجلة, he who wants العاجلة, the quick passing life. You know, العاجلة means what? Quick passing. It is a description of the dunya. Dunya is ajila. It is transient, it's temporary, it's the quick passing one. The quick passing one. If you want the quick passing one, if you want the short and transient one, if you want the temporary one, okay. عَجَّلْنَا لَهُ فِيهَا مَا نَشَاءُ لِمَن نُرِيدُ. We shall advance, we shall promptly, we shall readily grant to whomever we wish, whatever we wish of it. We will give it to them. But to whomever we wish, whatever we wish. So there is no guarantee even there. How many people do want the dunya and they don't get it? And they work hard for it and they don't get it. And they don't care about the hereafter, but they still don't get the dunya. You know, the famines all over the world, are all of those people, seekers of the hereafter? No, many of them want the dunya. They just want the dunya, but they still don't get it. Because عَجَّلْنَا لَهُ فِيهَا مَا نَشَاءُ لِمَن نُرِيدُ. We shall readily grant to whomever we wish, whatever we wish of it, of this dunya. But there are no guarantees. But here is the guarantee. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةَ وَسَعَى لَهَا سَعْيَهَا وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ سَعْيُهُم مَشْكُورًا. But whoever wants the akhirah, the hereafter, and does the works that are due to the hereafter, that are appropriate for their pursuit of the hereafter, the proper work that is required for the seekers of the hereafter. Whoever does this, whoever wants the hereafter and does the proper work that is required to attain the hereafter, فَأُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ سَعْيُهُمْ مَشْكُورًا. For those, the work will be recognized and appreciated. The work will certainly, that's Allah's promise. If you want al-akhirah, you will get al-akhirah. There are no contingencies here. There are no conditional statements. You get al-akhirah if you want al-akhirah. If you want al-akhirah and then act upon that desire, you're not only desirous of the akhirah and you're just sitting back and not doing anything, but you act upon this desire, you will get what you are working for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Hud, من كان يريد الحياة الدنيا وزينتها نوفي إليهم أعمالهم فيها وهم فيها لا يبخسون أولئك الذين ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار وحبط ما صنعوا فيها وباطل ما كانوا يعملون. He who wants الحياة الدنيا, the life of this world, the lowly life, dunya, lowly, lower life, the lower life of this world, وزينتها, its enjoyments, its glitters, its enjoyments, its adornments. من كان يريد الحياة الدنيا وزينتها نوفي إليهم أعمالهم فيها. We shall pay them in full. We shall compensate them in full for their good work in it, فيها. وهم فيها لا يبخسون, and they will not be shortchanged in it. So if you work well, if you basically excel in your profession, whether you want al-akhirah or not, you just want the dunya. And if you excel, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for your hard work and reward you for your effort. He will reward you for your diligence and your perfection, your being punctual at work and so on. So you will harvest what you plant, whether you are Muslim or not Muslim. Whether you are a seeker of the akhirah or not a seeker of the akhirah, you will not be shortchanged. And if you also do kindness, and if you do acts of kindness towards people, you will be paid in the dunya, and you will not be shortchanged. لا يبخسون. But at the same time, أولئك الذين ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار. Those are the ones who will have nothing in the akhirah and the hereafter, because they did not desire the akhirah. They were only working for the hereafter, for the dunya. And they were only working for the enjoyments of the dunya. They will have nothing in the hereafter except the hellfire, except the fire. ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار وحبط ما صنعوا فيها. And in ruin, voided, in vain, everything they had done in the dunya will be in vain. Every good work that you had done in the dunya, you will not find it in the akhirah if you did not desire al-akhirah, if you did not want al-akhirah while you were still in the dunya. Keep in mind that even if you get from the dunya, you want the dunya and you will be rewarded in the dunya, but ultimately your life in this dunya will be done, which means a life of distress, a life of distress. Despite the accomplishments and the achievements and despite all of what you have earned in that dunya, you will lead a life of distress, or you will have a life of distress, because that is Allah's promise to anyone who abandons His remembrance, stays away from His remembrance. Allah says in Surah Taha, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى قال رب لما حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى. And he who stays away from my remembrance, he will have a life of distress. معيشة ضنكا ونحشره يوم القيامة أعمى, and we will resurrect him on the day of judgment blind. Okay, so on the other side, even if you live a life of external stress and external hardship, but you have true faith, you are a true believer, you will have that coolness of certainty, bard al-yaqeen, You will have that comfort that comes with certitude, with belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your life will be a good life. من عمل صالحا سورة النحل من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة. He who does صالحا, good works, من ذكر أو أنثى, whether he's a male or female, وهو مؤمن, while in a state of iman, فلنحيينه حياة طيبة. We shall certainly, we most verily will give him a life that is good, طيبة, a good life. Despite the fact that he may be broke, despite the fact that he may have lost his only 2 kids that he had, in a car accident, or that he did not have kids and he's broke, or despite the fact that he had a crippling disease, a chronic debilitating disease. But if he truly has the bardul yaqeen, certitude is amazing. The comfort of certitude, to know where you're coming from and where you're going to know what you're here for. This is irreplaceable. This is, can you compare this to anything? If you have a lot of things, but you don't know what you're here for in this dunya, you don't know what will happen to you after death, you don't know, what is next. You will enjoy life as long as you're in your 20s or early 30s. And then once you start to hit your 40s and you start to have some joint aches and pains here and there, and your back hurts, and you start to lose, taste for certain foods that you used to like and stuff like that, and you feel like it is behind you now. Like what is ahead of you is senility. That is distressful. If you're not sure what you're going to have afterwards, where are you going afterwards? After that senility, then you see that people are taking 6 feet under to be buried in those graves, dark graves, and then you throw soil on them. You'll go there one day after you live, through senility and through all of the hardships associated with being Medicare eligible. So that is really distressful. It's really distressful. But after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that, those are the ones that wanted the hereafter, those are the ones that wanted the dunya, this is what those will get, and this is what the other party or other group will get. After this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, if you want the hereafter and you seek the hereafter, it does not mean that you will lose the dunya. First of all, you will have that bardul yaqeen, that coolness of certainty or certitude or comfort of certitude, which is, matchless. You will have it, that's for sure. Whether, regardless of your wealth or poverty, regardless of your health or sickness, you will have that. This is guaranteed. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We shall give him a good life. But also, it does not mean that you will not have the enjoyments of the dunya. That you will necessarily, since you desire the hereafter, that you will necessarily lose the enjoyments of the dunya, your dream car, your dream house, and this and that. Given that you have your priorities straight, given that you're willing at any time to sacrifice all of this for the sake of Allah, given that you will never seek it, earn it, attain it through the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you still have a very good likelihood that if you do the same thing other people do, and to earn those pleasures or enjoyments, you may get them. Allah says in Surah An-Nisa, "Man kana yuridu thawab ad-dunya فعند الله ثواب الدنيا والآخرة وكان الله سميعا بصيرا." He who wants the reward of the dunya, let him know that with Allah is the reward of the dunya and the akhirah. You could get them both. You don't have to lose the dunya if you seek al-akhirah, as long as you're willing to sacrifice the dunya for the akhirah, and you're willing to forsake the dunya for the akhirah, and you're willing to desert and abandon the dunya if it is needed for the akhirah, then you could get them both. فَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ ثَوَابُ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. With Allah is the reward of the dunya and al-akhirah, of this life and the hereafter. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. So after we clarified this is a concept that we just want to clarify. You cannot balance between the dunya and akhirah. You would be utterly crazy. You will be utterly foolish. This is senseless to want to balance between the dunya and akhirah. Our righteous predecessors used to say, لو كانت الآخرة من خزف يبقى والدنيا من ذهب يفنى لما أثر العاقل الخزف الذهب الذي يفنى على الخزف الذي يبقى فكيف والآخرة من ذهب يبقى والدنيا من خزف يفنى. So if the akhirah is made out of pottery, if the akhirah is made out of pottery and it's everlasting, and the dunya is made out of gold, but it is temporary, no sane person will choose the temporary gold over the everlasting pottery. Because everlasting is everlasting. It's infinite. So what So what do you think if the case is different? Akhirah is made out of gold, that is everlasting, and the dunya is made out of pottery, cheap, that is temporary, that is transient. So we're not balancing between the dunya and the akhirah. We are focused. We are, our eyes are set on the reward of the akhirah, and this is, our focus is completely on the akhirah. And we're paying all of our attention to Allah and to Allah alone. Surah Al-Sharh, we all memorize Surah Al-Sharh. Allah says at the end of it, what? فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. I will come back to Surah Al-Sharh because, basically, Surah Al-Sharh summarizes the entire topic of this lecture in these two statements. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. So when you are done with your occupation, labor. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ, meaning when you're done, when you have free time, when you're done. When you're done with your occupation, labor. Stand up, you could translate this as stand up because, nasab and tisab is to rise, to stand up. Nasab also is ta'ab or tiredness. Labor. Do hard labor. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. And to your Lord should be all of your longing. And to your Lord, pay all of your attention to your Lord. Give all of your attention to your Lord. Your longing should be all dedicated to your Lord. وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ, and to your Lord, فَارْغَبْ, should be all of your longing. So, then, on your way to the pleasure of your Lord, which is your ultimate pursuit, your final objective, your ultimate objective and goal is to earn the pleasure of your Lord and to be admitted to His Dar al-Karama, to His abode of honor, Al-Jannah, paradise. On your way, you can get, the enjoyments of the dunya. And not only that you could get the enjoyments of the dunya, you will use those enjoyments for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people, the Israelites at the time of Qarun, they said to him, وَابْتَغِ فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. وَابْتَغِ فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ, and seek with that which Allah had given you, all the wealth that Allah had given you. Seek with that wealth ad-dar al-akhirah. What am I pursuing here? What am I seeking? Ad-dar al-akhirah. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, and do not forget your share of this world. This is not basically what you're after. What you're tabtaghi, what you're seeking, what you're pursuing is not your share of the dunya. This is not your goal. This is not your goal. Your goal is ad-dar al-akhirah. وَابْتَغِي فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ, and seek with that which Allah had given you ad-dar al-akhirah, the home of the hereafter. The home of the hereafter. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيا, and on your way to your objective, لَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيا. During your trip, you could stop by and get some snacks. During your trip. Do not forget your share of the dunya. But that is part of the journey. But the journey is for the hereafter. The final destination is the hereafter. The final destination should be the hereafter. Sometimes we have certain ahadith or certain reports that may sound like there should be a balance between the dunya and the akhirah, like a real balance between the dunya and akhirah. So we have this report that is not traceable to the Prophet ﷺ, and even the version that is traceable to Ali radiallahu anhu, it is not traceable as people know it. The wording is different from what the people know. So you know this report. Sa'a is traceable to the Prophet authentically. But Sa'a is what? Sa'a in worship and Sa'a in the work of the rejuvenation, the work of the dunya and non-worship. Sa'a for worship, Sa'a for non-worship. Because Hanzala came to the Prophet and said to him what? That we play with our families and take care of our, business and so on and so forth, and we forget some of what you tell us. So he told them, Sa'a you will be, yes. And that is the balance that we will talk about. It is not balancing of the pursuit of the dunya and akhirah. You're not balancing your want, desire. You're balancing the time that you will spend. And Sa'a does not necessarily mean that equal division. But even if it means that equal division, look at us. You have 8 hours of sleep, 16 hours. Tell me if you're doing 8 hours in worship and the other 8 hours are spent in, conducting your business and having, leisurely time and so on and so forth. But the report from Ali radiallahu anhu is اعمل دنياك كأنك تعيش أبدا وأعمل لآخرتك كأنك تموت غدا. Work for your dunya as if you will live forever, and work for the akhirah as if you will die tomorrow. You heard this? A lot of you heard it? Yes. Because we Muslims are good at, spreading, and exchanging those good reports that are comforting. First of all, people have different takes on this, scholars. Aside from the fact that this is not traceable to the Prophet, number one. Aside from the fact that throughout the Quran does not tell you this. The emphasis on the akhirah. Sabiqu is for the akhirah. Sari'u is for the akhirah. Compete is for the akhirah. Hasten is for the akhirah. Sari'u ila maghfiratin min rabbikum. وجنة عرضها كعرض السماوات والأرض. سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم. سارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم. So hasten, compete. سابقوا وسارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض وعدة للمتقين. سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها كعرض السماء والأرض. So hasten and compete are used only for the akhirah, but when it comes to the dunya, it is imshu. Right? وامشوا في مراكبها وكلوا من رزقه. So walk through the land and seek of his provisions, or eat of his provisions, meaning seek of Allah's provisions. So when it comes to the akhirah, it is clearly compete and run and hasten and so on. And when it comes to the dunya, it is ancient. But some of the scholars have another take on this hadith, or this report from Ali radiallahu anhu. Even if you accept it as is, work for your life as if you will live forever, and work for the hereafter as if you will die tomorrow. Some scholars said something that was very subtle and very beautiful. Work for your dunya as if you will live forever, meaning don't be in a hurry. If you don't do it today, you'll do it tomorrow. There is no rush. You will live forever. So don't be in a hurry. So the work for the dunya, take it easy with the work for the dunya. Because if you're going to work for the dunya with the mentality of someone who will live forever. So whatever you miss today, you catch it tomorrow. But when it comes to the hereafter, hasten, because you're working for the hereafter as if you're dying tomorrow. So work fast. Don't defer the work of the hereafter until tomorrow, because you should be feeling that you'll die at any time. So get it done today, now. Ta'atullah Azza wa Jal should never be deferred. They say that al-ana is good in everything, which is deliberation is good in everything, except in the ta'ah of Allah, because al-ana is to do everything at the proper time, not hastily. And all of the time is proper for the ta'ah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no haste in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because all of the time is proper for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, okay. Now that we said this, how do we balance? What are we balancing here? Time between the work that you have to do for the dunya and the work of the hereafter. How do you balance your time? On this journey to al-akhirah, to seek the pleasure of your Lord, how do you also maintain your needs in this dunya, sustain yourself, your community in this dunya, and your needs in this dunya? And this is what we would be talking about. The first thing, in order for us to be balanced, because we're not balanced. Many times we think that we're balanced, we're not balanced. Why are we not balanced? It is quite obvious, because the dunya is right here in front of you. Because you drove to this place in a car that is starting to give in on you or to give you trouble, and you're busy thinking that you should replace this car. How am I going to replace this car? I need to make some more money. Or you came to this place from your home and you're renting and you want to purchase. It is right here and now. And so it is right in front of your eyes. It is occupying most of your thought because it's here. It's very visible, very tangible. But as for the akhirah, for many of us, we don't have the certainty that is required for us to be balanced. Why were the Sahaba balanced? They were perfectly balanced. Why were they balanced? Because the akhirah. Because if balance is a good thing, then the Sahaba were balanced. If you think that the Sahaba were leaning more on the side of the akhirah versus the dunya, and you want to be balanced, so you want to have a different lifestyle from the Sahaba, you desire to be different, then you will deserve to be different, and then you will deserve to also be treated differently by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Sahaba were balanced. Why they were balanced? Because they were certain of the akhirah as much as they are certain of the dunya. To them, it was almost like, as visible as the dunya. They can see it. You can see it coming. Just like they see this dunya, the day and night of this dunya. So, the first thing that will help us become balanced is to have certainty in akhirah. That means what? To basically strengthen our faith, to have more iman. And that would be a completely different lecture or a different talk. How do we strengthen our iman? And not just the intellectual iman, the experiential iman. Not just the iman that is comprehended by the intellect, but the iman that is felt by the heart. Two different things. They're really two different things. And as long as we have the iman that is comprehended by the intellect, you sit down and if you say, yes, makes perfect sense, Allah is there, He must be a creator, no other religion provides a better roadmap to serve the creator. No other religion provides a crisp, clear, and sensible description of the Creator and a better roadmap to get back to the Creator than Islam. Then Islam is the right choice. It is the sensible choice. But this is the intellectual faith. But the experiential faith is when you start to taste the sweetness of faith. And as we have that coolness of certainty, that comfort of certainty. It is when you have a relationship with Allah that you converse with Allah when you stand in prayer. Just like one thing I would tell you, if I have to give one tip on how to increase our faith, lengthen your prayer by 2 minutes. Can you do this? Every prayer. How much do you spend on the prayer? For 4 minutes? 5 minutes? Lengthen it by 2 minutes. But commit that whenever you recite Al-Fatiha inattentively, that you will re-recite it. Until you become obsessive and then you stop it. Because obsession is not good. But make that commitment. When you recite Al-Fatiha, you're saying Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Are you aware of what you're saying? Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Am I aware of what I'm saying? Maliki Yawmiddin. Do I know what this means? He is the Lord of the Day of Judgment. Reflect on this just briefly. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Only you do we worship, only you do we seek help from. Converse with Allah. Allah is listening to you. Say Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in as if Allah is in front of you listening to you, because He is. And He is looking at you as long as you are paying attention in the prayer. So give yourself 2 more minutes for every prayer and see the impact of this on your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your bilateral relationship with Allah. Because we tend to have a multilateral relationship with Allah. So that we approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is faith through association. It's like we are Muslim because we're all Muslim, and my kids are Muslim and my parents are Muslim. But your really bilateral relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because just between you and Him will grow exponentially if you pay attention to the 5 daily prayers. And it is not an extra chore. You're doing it, but we're doing it inattentively. Keep in mind, I'm not preaching to you like I'm at this, at the top of the mountain and I'm sort of calling you to the top. Where I'm pointing it out to you and myself. We're trying to encourage each other to climb to the top of the mountain. So I am telling myself and you, if we just pay a little bit more attention to the prayer, spend a little bit more time, dedicate 2 more minutes to each prayer, and make that commitment, that I will really recite al-Fatiha attentively. I will be conscious when I recite al-Fatiha, because we're really unconscious when we recite al-Fatiha. Most of us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, malik yawmiddin, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, ihdinas siratal mustaqim, siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. And if you're doing it also in your mouth and you're not speaking it out loud, then it's even worse. And you look sometimes and you figure, what is this? Is this prayer or gymnastics? So, you know, even mentally, psychologically, the psychological impact. This, you know, do you know what they teach in meditation? There has to be focus, there has to be concentration. Prayer is your form of meditation. This is the ultimate form of, you know, the proper meditation. There has to be focus, there has to be concentration. Okay, so develop that certainty so you have the balance. Okay. And after you develop that certainty, then the next step, when you have the certainty now, and you, al-akhirah is just as visible to you as the dunya, the next step is to be ambitious, to have ulu al-himma, to be ambitious, to not waste your life. Umar ibn Khattab used to say, إِنِّي لَأَكْرَهُ أَنْ أَرَى الرَّجُلَ سَبَهْلَلَ لَا فِي عَمَلِ دُنْيَا وَلَا عَمَلِ آخِرَةٍ. I hate to see the man that, you know, insignificant, worthless. I hate to see the worthless man who is not being occupied with the work of the dunya or the work of the akhirah. He's not doing anything. If I may use, and I don't usually like to use those words because, you know, but I just point them out because we use them frequently, our youth use them frequently, and they can have, you know, some impact on your attitude. The word chilling, it's not a bad thing. If you're not chilling the bad way. But what does it mean? Like, does it mean like wasting time? If you're trying to recreate, to rejuvenate, because you have a goal, you have a purpose, and you're just you get like tired of serious hard work, and you're trying to rejuvenate, that's absolutely permissible in Islam. That is the sa'a wa sa'a. 1 hour for this, 1 hour for that the Prophet ﷺ talked about. But you're doing this so that you can get back to work. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. You're doing this so that you can get back to serious work. Because you are a person on a mission. You are a person with a purpose. So you get back to your serious work. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. When you're done with your occupation, then labor. But if you're just wasting time, then you will never have that balance, because you may end up not having the dunya or the akhirah if you're just wasting your time. Next to this, be organized and disciplined and regimented. And I am not going to talk to you about this because you should take classes on time management, and I am not the best person to teach this subject. But really, this is not, even if you take it from a completely secular perspective, how do you manage your time? How do you make yourself more organized? How do you prioritize your tasks and all of this? Time management is very important for people who want to have that balance. Is Sheikh Mamdouh here? Okay, please. And can I leave 5 more minutes? Okay. So then, the next point is, after all of this is needed for everyone to have the certainty of the akhirah, to be able to have the balance, promote your faith, and so on, to have this, hard-working attitude and high aspirations, and to not waste your time, and to be disciplined, organized, regimented, and so on. All of this is important for everyone. But now it is the time to separate between different people. How much time do I need to dedicate to this and that? At the end of the day, all of what he said is theoretical. How much time do I need to dedicate to this? And how much time do I need to dedicate to that? And how do I do it? It all depends on your role. And your role will depend on your capacities, your talents, your position, your time and place. All of this will have to be assessed to figure out how much time should you dedicate to this or that. For instance, if I have the best heart surgeon in the country, my Muslim brother is the best heart surgeon in the country, will I tell him, I want you to go out and pass out this or that brochures here, and do those various jobs that we all do? Isn't what he already doing, if he's doing it for the sake of Allah, isn't it a way to paradise? If he is taking good care of his patients, that's his way to paradise. So this heart surgeon that is already 45 years old, I'm not going to tell him, you know what, you need to go back and sit down and learn Ajurumiyya, for instance, because you're missing out on, you did not learn Nahu grammar yet. You have to go back and start from the beginning and build the foundation. And then I will give you the different mutun and different manuals that you should memorize so that you move on to the next step and so on and so forth. That will be a waste of resources. Waste of resources. He's already doing his job. However, there are just like a few points that he has to also keep in consideration. He will need sometimes to go out and, sort of visit the sick outside of his profession, take care of the homeless, pass out brochures, and do some community work for his own well-being. Not because this is his role, primary role, no, but this is for his own psyche, for his own well-being, and for his own humbleness as well. You do the rest because there is a feeling that you get. You can go online and you donate $200,000 to IRF online, and you're not seeing the recipient. That's still different from going out to the recipient and taking care of them and giving them the money yourself. There is a completely different feeling that you get from doing it yourself. So he will still need to do some of that work. And for the people who are primarily vested in the work of the da'wah and the hereafter, and they sort of work in the dunya just for their sustenance, I don't have time to tell them what needs to be done. So some other time, inshallah, we'll talk about it, because that's a lengthy subject. But all of what I said is applicable to them, but they need to have like a completely different strategy to handle their pursuit of ilm and da'wah and so on, while taking care of their families and providing for themselves. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك.